Baby is born lifeless at 5 months, but doctors did something unimaginable. Incredible footage has emerged of a premature baby born at just 5 months that doctors warned would have no chance of survival. Tiny Fontaine Dickey weighed in at just 1 pound 13 ounces when mom Jenny Sanchez gave birth at 23 weeks. Medics warned Jenny and dad Rashawn Dickey that their son had no chance of survival, and that if he was born he would likely be blind, deaf, and with extreme disabilities. The little fighter stayed in hospital for 4 months after he was born in April, after he had a level 3 brain bleed and gray specks on both sides of his brain. He has since undergone heart surgery, 4 blood transfusions, and weekly eye exams in that time. Amazing video shows Fontaine appearing to push his mom's hand away as she reaches in to pat her son with her index finger. The footage, which shows Fontaine is barely the size of his mom's hand, was filmed as his parents spent quality time with him at hospital. Jenny from Denver in the US said, "We were talking to him like we usually do. I went to grab his hand because he loves to hold my finger tightly, but not that day. He was showing off in front of daddy and brushed my hand away. Fontaine was getting his daily dose of mommy and daddy time. It was very important we visited him every day but also held him." Jenny was 23 weeks pregnant when she went to the hospital complaining of stomach cramps, but within seconds of a doctor's examination, she was told she was dilated to 3 centimeters. As soon as Rashawn and her parents arrived at the hospital, they were told a baby born that early would have no chance at survival. "I completely lost it. I couldn't fight my tears. They had to hold me down because I felt like it was coming out of my skin. I was uncontrollable. The previous year I was in surgery because I had lost twins at 4 months. Jenny's waters broke that same day, but it wasn't until after more than 8 days bed rest that Fontaine was finally born. After just 15 minutes of labor, he was born with his eyes open and cried, but within seconds he was having to be resuscitated. They called out code blue and about 6 doctors busted in trying to save his lifeless body. He wasn't breathing for a little less than a minute. They used 1 finger to pump his chest." Fontaine had a level 3 brain bleed and gray specks on both sides of his brain, meaning he stayed in hospital for 4 months. He underwent heart surgery, 4 blood transfusions, and weekly eye exams in that time. Jenny said, "My poor baby had so many IVs poked in him, there were even times when they had to use veins on his head. They said only time will tell how this will affect him. When we left the hospital, his vision was perfect, he could hear in both ears, and his brain bleed self-resolved. I just keep asking, how did we get so lucky?" The doctor's exact words when we left were, "We haven't had a NICU rock star in a long time. Fontaine's a fighter." Jenny says looking after Fontaine takes patience, especially as he has digestion and sleeping issues, saying, "I decided I was going to live and love my baby in whatever way he is, and no matter how long I had him. I was a mommy and my baby was alive, so I had every reason to celebrate and be thankful and happy. I left all negative and sad thoughts outside the room when I visited." Another miracle happened. It was a final chance to say goodbye for grieving mother Kate Auk after doctors gave up hope of saving her premature baby. She tearfully told her lifeless son, born at 27 weeks weighing 2 pounds, how much she loved him and cuddled him tightly, not wanting to let him go. Although little Jamie's twin sister Emily had been delivered successfully, doctors had given Mrs. Auk the news all mothers dread, that after 20 minutes of battling to get her son to breathe, they declared him dead. Having given up on a miracle, Mrs. Auk unwrapped the baby from his blanket and held him against her skin. And then an extraordinary thing happened. After 2 hours of being hugged, touched, and spoken to by his mother, the little boy began showing signs of life. At first, it was just a gasp for air that was dismissed by doctors as a reflex action. But then the startled mother fed him a little breast milk on her finger and he started breathing normally. "I thought, my God, what's going on?" said Mrs. Auk. A short time later, he opened his eyes. It was a miracle. Then he held out his hand and grabbed my finger. The doctor kept shaking his head, saying, "I don't believe it." The Australian mother spoke publicly for the first time yesterday to highlight the importance of skin-on-skin care for sick babies, which is being used at an increasing number of British hospitals. In most cases, babies are rushed off to intensive care if there's a serious problem during the birth. The doctor asked me had we chosen a name for our son. I said Jamie, and he turned around with my son already wrapped up and said, "We've lost Jamie. He didn't make it, sorry." It was the worst feeling I've ever had. I unwrapped Jamie from his blanket. He was very limp. Her husband added, "Luckily, I've got a very strong, very smart wife. She instinctively did what she did. If she hadn't done that, Jamie probably wouldn't be here."